Good morning, everyone. Welcome to early July, and we're going to see what we can do to photograph some sunflowers. That's what we're going to start out with today, and then we will just see what else we can find. The dill is looking really cool. You can probably hear the chickens in the background. Let's say hello to them real quick. And as we're going to start off, let's see, probably 20 minutes past sunrise, maybe slightly more than that. But I also have a light modifier that I'm going to be able to use to either provide shadow or diffuse the light that's coming in direct from the sun. But to start off with, I'm going to try and do it without any modification, just go straight with the light on the sunflowers. It's a little bit cool right now for the bees to be out, but I expect them to start buzzing here really soon. And so I'm getting ready for that. Of course, there's lots of birds and other things, but I'm going to focus on macro today. I really want to get into those intricate details. And so let's go ahead and get the camera set up and talk through what we've got going on this morning. I think the easy shot will be this one. It's at about, well, maybe slightly higher than elbow height for me, facing the sun. As I come around and look at some other angles and other options that we have going on here, and see what this little item is about. Certainly we have a lot of new blossoms coming in. These particular sunflower are not that large, and they are the remnants of a burn pile. So we had a burn pile, and the central portion, which is hard to see here, is actually, or started out anyway, this was a ring of sunflowers, and it's just really overgrown and taken over. See, I love buds like that. That's really cool. And of course some are still, I shouldn't say still, they're going out. The low ones, I think that'll be pretty nice. Oh, here we are. Inky is coming to join us. Okay, so I'm going to get started on that one flower that I first showed you, and let's get to this right now. So I'm shooting with the Canon R5 and the RF 100 lens. And when I'm setting up a shot like this, there's different lines of thinking that you can go with. Do you want to start wide and then kind of work your way in, or do you want to start in and work yourself around? I think for me, I just want to start really in and just work myself around, because what I'm really interested in is finding abstracts or abstractions. I'm not necessarily concerned that you will instantly recognize what I shoot as a sunflower. We want to recognize it for whatever it is, the beauty that it is. And this device here, if you're wondering what that is, this is a Plamp by Wimberly. I'm not going to probably need it right away here, but I'm going to be able to grab the stem and keep the wind from causing too much movement compared to otherwise. I mean, obviously we're still going to contend with it, but it will help hold it in place. Now, there's a couple of things that are really interesting here. I've got a tiny little green thing. I'm going to see what that is once I get it through the camera. But then this interaction here with the petals and this new bloom right here, that's pretty sweet. So I got a lot of opportunities right here just in this framing that I'm setting up. This lens will do greater than 1:1 magnification, so I have the opportunity to get super, super close. And that's why I'm at an angle to the sun as well. If I need to get super, super close, I want to be able to have good lighting on it still. So that little green thing I saw is the tiniest of little bugs, and now my dog is getting in the way. Juno, come over here. I can't have you doing that. Come on, stay over here. Nope, stay. It's the tiniest of little bugs, which is absolutely amazing. This is me getting excited. All right. All right. I really want to I gotta get in close though. This is almost where I wish I had my extension tubes going on. This is where I love back bucket and focus because I can zoom in on the critter. I can achieve manual focus and make sure he is as sharp as possible. And when I'm magnified this much, there's already some wind going. Let's see what my shutter speed is. 1/60th, 320 ISO, 5.6. I can certainly open up some more, but then my depth of field goes crazy, crazy shallow. I want a little bit of depth of field coming through. So I'm gonna go ahead and start using the clamp right away. And I want to grab it just under here. And then that just steadies it up and keeps, and of course now I have to reconfigure my framing. And now I have to remember too, if I move the camera at all, of course that blossom is going to move. All right, so let's zoom in on the critter again, make sure we are in good focus. And the wind is still killing us here, so I'm going to work my framing. There it is. And I'm just going to have to bump that ISO up. I have no other choice than to bump the ISO up. Whoop, let's go the other way. So I'm going to take it up to about 800. And then that allows me to take my shutter speed to about 1/160th of a second. Let's double check my histogram. Yeah, that's probably pretty decent. And I'm going to grab a shot. Oh, I'm on super power mode. There's another little thing crawling through the frame actually too. So I'll bring some of these up on screen here and we can take a look at these. Oh man. Awesome, awesome. So let's switch now from my high-speed drive to my 2-second delay drive. So I don't have any camera shake when I take that picture. There might still be some movement because of the wind, but boy howdy, this is pretty sweet. My first composition, I had some of the yellow petals up above, and now I'm going to focus just on the little dude, just in that dark central portion of the blossom where the seeds are, and he's going to really stick out in the frame, and then all these other little details are coming in. Now let's take a quick look. Actually, I want to see what it looks like now if I just take the diffuser umbrella and diffuse some of this light. Let's see what happens. I think I can just hand hold it, and so I'm gonna take off the black portion there. Of course, I will have to adjust my exposure. It's in the neighborhood of 2 stops, and so I've adjusted my f-stop, which of course is going to give me a super shallow depth of field now. But when I do this, I can really see the pattern of what's happening with all of the little pieces in the flower. I can actually probably improve my composition just a bit. Oh, what's he doing? He's crawling somewhere now. Oh, he's going the other direction. He's going away from me, so I no longer see his face. I can get a butt shot, but that's not very nice. So see, this is where the plant really comes in handy, and I can just force a perspective change a little bit. It's time to wake up. Wow, there's like 10 or 11 of these creepy crawly type things. Aha, you see that made me go closer because of my vertical thing has a setback. So take a look at this shot here. I've got the video going through the camera now. We got the little critter doing his thing, but you look around in the periphery, there's some movement, and they got all these little teeny bugs, and that just amazes me. That is so cool. Let's get this photo going. All right, I'm going to do a crazy thing now. I'm going to get a focus stack, and hopefully the critter stays still enough. I've decided to do an increment of 1 at 120 frames, and I focused manually on his antenna, which is in front of his face, of course, and he's aiming right towards me, but his legs are moving about, and so this may not work out, so we'll just see. I'm going to put this back over it, diffuse some light, and 120 frames is done just like that. And it focuses now on the mid part of the blossom. I'm going to continue with another 120 frames and just keep going. The nice thing about this Canon system is it'll just pick up where it left off, and then it'll just keep going with another 120 frames. So let's do that so I get the whole stinking thing in focus. And now I'm about 3/4 of the way through. So I'm at 360 frames right now, and I still don't have the yellow. I got a little bit of a portion of the yellow petals in focus. So that's really going to be about 600 frames. Ouch. So I think I'm going to try and figure this out. I'm going to do an increment of 2, but I'm going to do about 400 frames. So focus bracketing. Going to take it up to 400. And our increment will now be increment of 2. Let's diffuse the light and let's take it away. It's interesting, as it's going down, I can see it counting down how many frames it has left, and it's pausing every 20 frames or so now to clear the buffer. I'm on the fastest card that it has. All right, and that took it way beyond those yellow petals. So I've got plenty of frames that are way out of focus. I'm going to go back to single shots. So that shot was at 1600 ISO because I went down to 100th of a second though, and I'm at f4.5, and I decided to bump it up to 1600 ISO so we could have it just be a little bit brighter when I'm bringing in the diffuser. The sun is coming up enough now though. I think I can adjust that ISO back down to about 800. There we are. But I also want to balance it out with a little more depth of field too. So this is just, it's always a give and take. All right, I'm gonna get a few more shots, a few more items, and we'll certainly bring this all together with a review of a few frames. My goal today though is to get something that I can make a nice print out of and have it be one of my monthly prints that I release. So if I can achieve that goal today, then that would just be fantastic. All right, so I'll bring you back in when I've got another framing or two that I want to set up. All right, about 20 or 30 minutes, I don't have my watch on, have passed, and just gotten a lot of really cool shots from a really close-up of the bud just barely opening, or not even open yet, and then some of these other just little tiniest little of bugs that are in these blossoms. It's just really cool to see all these intricate details that you totally miss when you're not looking at the macro. All right, I've got this other flower going on. I'll grab a little bit of video and camera here so I can show you what I'm talking about. It does have a petal that doesn't look too good, so I probably should adjust my composition just a hair to adjust for that. That's kind of nice, setting a little offset. I might need to move the camera back just a little bit, but anyway, what I'm trying to do here now is get some bees, and this particular blossom has been frequented by a couple of bees, and now what my problem is with this up, the bees just aren't here. They're favoring the ones that are in the bright sun, which makes sense. That's fine, I get that, but come on bees, we want some action here. And maybe the shot is just right here before me without the bee, but I'm really liking the idea of getting a bee there, because the ones I've seen, their pollen sacs are just really full, and I think it's really cool to see that. They've been certainly very busy. So I'm going to try and hang out here and get a few bees, and then I'm going to start walking about and see what else I can get. I know for sure I want to grab some of the dill. That's looking really cool, and so I'm going to grab some of that today as well and see what else we can grab here in the garden. And just got to get these bees coming. So hopefully I can be successful with some bees. But I'm going to back off of my composition here really quick so I can get the full array of the petals on the right hand side of the frame. So 800 ISO f5.6 3/20th of a second is where I'm at right now, and I'm going to go, oh, do we get a bee? He almost decided to land over here. Now see, what I figure I can also do, I'm on a high-speed drive, so if I do get a bee, I'm going to be able to just mash the button and it's going to work well, hopefully. But another thing I thought about doing was just bring this to the side, and then the moment I get a bee, I put this in place, and then I start mashing the shutter. Now, the other problem I have with doing this is, of course, focusing on the bee. Right now I've got the focus point right on these these brighter portions of the bloom in the very central portion of the blossom. That's where they tended to land. And so that's where I want to start the action, but I have to make sure, of course, I hit the autofocus, because the depth of field of the body of the bee is going to cause the body of the bee to be out of focus. So I want to make sure I can hit that autofocus button once again before I mash the shutter button. But I changed it also to case 3 under the AF settings. Hey cat. Yes, this is our most affectionate cat, and he can get annoying because he's going to cause movement on my tripod. But anyway, case 3 under the AF settings, it says instantly focus on subjects suddenly entering AF points. So I figured that would probably be ooh, here we go. And of course I need this. And it was that quick. He's gone already. So I'm distracted by telling you what's going on. I'm distracted by the cat. George down here. Yes, George. He's usually, if I just give him a little bit of attention, he's usually good and he can go on his way. Composition still looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and put this off to the side and be patient. It's just, when it comes to bees and other wildlife type stuffs, it's all about just being able to be patient, and hopefully they'll come back. I just can't forget to bring that back over when it's time to make it happen, time to get the shot. Okay, I got about 6 or 7 shots with that. Of course, I'll show you the one that worked out if it did. But as I said before, it's about being patient and it's about trial and error. They move pretty quickly, and to get that autofocus to just follow them and track them, yeah, I have it on the servo mode as well. Let's just face it, it is a bit of a challenge. Now it might behoove me to go ahead and handhold this. I can be a lot more nimble with making sure that that bee is where I need it. But man, those pollen sacs are just absolutely full. There's no one down there. I'm seeing one on this flower. I'm really liking the very stark angle I could get. Okay. All right, got several shots on that one. He is changing his body position. I'm tapping the screen to reassess focus. I decided to go that route this time rather than using my back button focus. You know, I can reassess focus to establish where he's at, and then I can mash the back button focus. And he's just scurrying about. So because I don't have the back button focus on, of course, the AF is not activated. So all that autofocus stuff that I talked about is irrelevant when I don't have that back button focus button mashed down. So it's just a different way of doing the shoot and seeing what works. It has been a long time since I've photographed bees, and so it's just a little, it's always a learning experience. I tell you what, that's one thing I love about photography. It's always a learning experience. I'm going to try remembering to hit that back button focus now. This next time I'll establish it with my finger, and then I'll mash in the AF on button here, and then hopefully that will get me something that works good here. I think that actually worked pretty good. As I'm going to be looking at these images in post-production, I'll be able to see if during that long phase there I had the button mashed in for autofocus. The bee did not scurry about a whole lot. He was actually kind of slow. So I was like, yay, he's doing some good work here. With f5.6, hopefully I've got enough depth of field that causes enough of the bee's body, enough of his eyes, his legs, his whatever, to be in focus that it makes a good image. All right, I'm gonna head on over now to the dill and let's get some images over there. That stuff is just so cool how it explodes out and there's these tiny, tiny little buds. So I'm looking very much forward to that. All right, it's dill time. Let's get a couple of seconds through this camera. And you can see what I'm talking about, how they just kind of have this explosion kind of a thing going on from these little central portions, these tiny little blossoms explode. The wind is certainly going to do its job to mess me up. On this, the stem is so small, the plant doesn't actually clamp onto it, but it still can hold it in position, so that's cool. Hey, and that's actually kind of an interesting composition we got there, so I'll frame this up and we'll see what happens here with this image. I might have to fine tune the position of my umbrella as well, so we'll see how that all goes. Gotta look at everything here. Okay, George, I can't have you messing with the tripod, George. This is also very soft ground I'm on right here, tilled garden, and it's been irrigated somewhat recently. So things are very soft. George, you're gonna get yourself in trouble here, George. He truly is a sweet cat, but when I'm trying to shoot, he's annoying. All right. The only way to guarantee you're not going to mess up my shot is to hold you. Okay, retract them claws. All right. All right, let's take a look back in camera here. I'm going to kind of hunt around for another composition, and this actually looks amazing. I'm really liking how this comes together, but I know I'm going to have to adjust. I can see him moving down there. He's in the bright sunlight, or he's a shadow anyway. I'm gonna have to adjust the umbrella, which may screw up the view there because my video camera is in the shadow of the umbrella. But this is looking pretty sweet. So I'm gonna frame this up, adjust the umbrella, and let's see what we can do here. Oh, that's okay. George, come on. Oh, it's tough when they're so sweet, yet so annoying. Oh, I'm running out of battery. Oh, and the bigger problem, I have a discoloration going on. The bigger problem is the plamp is in the frame. Oh dear. It's out of focus and all that, but I don't want that in the frame. All right, well, my battery here is about dead. I'm gonna go get another battery and then we'll wrap this thing up. Well, my second battery didn't have too much life in it either, but it had enough for me to finish my shoot. And again, finding these tiny little bugs, just so cool. With this framing that I've got right now, I'll try and grab a few seconds here in the camera. I was focusing on where these items transition, where they come together, and yeah, in video I've got it in manual focus. There it is. And so there's this tiny little bugs in there, and so I was focusing on that while paying attention to the lines that are descending away and radiating away and all that other good stuff, other items that are coming into the background and things like that. I decided not to use the plamp in this case because the wind wasn't that bad, and now it's doing a little bit more, but the wind wasn't that bad. It was quite still. Running 3/20th of a second f4 at 800 ISO, however. I experimented with some different settings on that, but I really wanted to have a tiny amount of depth of field with that f4, but because I wasn't using the plamp, I figured I needed to keep that shutter speed high. But got a few good items. When I first set up the camera, take a look at this shot where I think I'm going to call it Dill Dreaming or Dreaming Dill or something along those lines, because when I first set up the framing with the new battery, the autofocus had adjusted and it just gave me this really washed out color because this whole thing was way out of focus and it was focusing on something way in the background, and I just thought that was really cool. So I really liked how that came together. It has this very ethereal approach, this very ethereal look to it, and I'm really appreciating how that comes out. So whether or not that is my final shot that I am selecting for the day, I can't tell you right now. But what we'll do is, if I have something that elevates itself to that level of being my print of the month, then I'm gonna, of course, continue this video, or maybe I'll make a whole new video because I'm going to include the printing process of that as well. So I'll let you know in this description right here what's happening, and we will see what goes. And again, maybe I didn't get something that really elevates. So we'll see what happens with that. Out in the field, I almost never know exactly how it's going to come together. A lot of times I'll be like, oh, really super confident in this image. I love this image, and it totally falls apart. And other times I have no clue that this particular image is going to work out, and it's amazing. And then there's those times where you're just like, yep, when you're in the field, you know it's perfect, you know it's awesome, and of course it comes through to the print and it's just magnificent. I've had that happen several times too. So right now I'm going to say that Dill Dreaming is probably my #1 image, but you know, when I get in the studio, I'm just like, what was I thinking? I was out in the field and I was just caught up in the moment. That's how it can happen sometimes. All right, well, thank you so much for joining. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I always appreciate any comments that you're willing to share. Give me some feedback. Let's have a little bit of a conversation about what we're shooting, about what's going on. Always love that kind of stuff. All right, until the next time, happy shooting.